Hey, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast is brought to you by Higher Echelon, a company run by Joe Ross. We really appreciate the former Army fullback, the former Army assistant coach, and the former Army officer and his company, Higher Echelon, sponsoring us. Check out, I just threw up the game story by Seth Mendelson. People were asking for it, so it's up on blackknightnation.com. Check out our YouTube channel. We're very close to 1,000 subscribers. I have an on-the-field interview with Cody Harris Miller up on our YouTube channel right now. We'll be throwing up some other things on YouTube and our social medias. Got some stuff up on our Instagram. Check out our Instagram page, Black Knight Nation. You should be able to find it pretty easily. Seth Mendelson joining me today. We were both at Army's 45-28 win over East Carolina today at Mikey Stadium, sold out Mikey Stadium. And it was the Bryson Daly show once again on today. 5 touchdowns rushing, which ties the Academy record owned by Carlton Jones and maybe others. Now he has 19 touchdowns on the season. That is a season record for Army. And just a great performance by Bryson. And, Seth, just real quick, when I'm home. I got home finally, and we're watching college football. And when you see on the ticker, top news, Bryson Daly rushes for 5 yards, number 23 Army wins on the ticker. You see the halftime show of the Georgia-Texas game, and they're having highlights of Army and Navy, these top 25 teams. One of my friends who has season tickets is saying, this is surreal. This is a surreal season right now going on in Service Academy football, right? And then at the end of the halftime show, who gets the rewarding performance? Capital One's rewarding performance, Bryson Daly. ESPN had Bryson Daly on today on ESPN2. I believe they had the game, and he had a really good performance. He had a rewarding performance today, no doubt. Your thoughts?
I agree totally. I mean, definitely the Bryson Daly show. The fact that it was on ESPN2, it means it's totally national. Everybody gets ESPN2, the CBS Sports Network. I think a lot of people get it, but not everybody. This is a great showcase for Bryson, and he came through. And let's be honest, the entire Army team, especially in the first half, came through. It was a dominant offensive performance. The blocking was spectacular for Daly. The play calling by I want to talk about that a little bit later on, but the play calling by Jeff Bunkin and his team, offensive coordinator, Cody and just is just great. Second half, got a little sloppy. As Munkin explained to us, he put in virtually everybody into the lineup and on defense. And here's Brendan. Hi, Brendan. He definitely, it showed. They scored 4 touchdowns in the second half. The first one, I think, was against the starting lineup, the starting defense. And then after that, it was just, he was putting people. And he said to us after the game, I wanted to get these guys some reps. We weren't going to lose the game. Yes, they were going to score touchdowns. It's unfortunate, but, it's more important to get reps for some of these other players. So overall, great experience for Army today, 7-0, and in first place with only 2 games left in the AAC, two league games left in the AAC. So it's looking very good in their first year in the league.
It's crazy. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. We have Brendan joining us. Brendan, thanks for coming on. What did you take from the game today? Other than it being the Bryson Daly show again?
It's not every day you get to see something that hasn't happened since the Eisenhower administration, which is a ranked Army team walking into Mikey Stadium and walking out with a win. First time since 1959, I believe that's happened. It was it was a great game. They were up 31-0, and then I believe they entered the fourth quarter at 31-7,
38-7, maybe even. I'm not even sure yet.
Yeah, I can't remember, but and then just kind of a weird
7.
Yeah, and then just kind of a weird fourth quarter. I don't think I even realized that they were putting in subs at that point. Um, I wish I had. I would have felt a lot better about what was happening, but that's kind of the unfortunate thing about being there in person is you're not necessarily privy to all the details unless you're hyper paying attention. But um, yeah, I mean, it's great to be 7-0. It's great to be 6-0 in the league, and now the team has a couple weeks off. I mean, not only a bye this week, but a couple weeks off from league play, where a lot of things can happen with everybody else in the league trying to just catch up and keep pace. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, weird fourth quarter, but couldn't be happier to still be undefeated and keeping this whole winning streak going.
No doubt. I was on the field for not on the field. I was on the sidelines for the last few minutes, and I caught on video at the end, Bryson Daly taking the final snap, having the football in his hands, and one of the first people who ran out to congratulate him was Cody Weineker, a fellow captain. He's a nose tackle for Army. He's a senior too. And it just, I don't know, to me, that really said a lot because, and we got to talk to Coach Monken after the game and just about the impact Bryson Daly has, not just on the offense, just how hard the kid plays every down and how it's infectious for not just the offense, but the defense too. And I think a reporter asked Coach Monken, Bryson ran a ball near the out of bounds and a East Carolina player kind of hit him out late and it should have been called. And the reporter asked, hey, do you wish he would have went down a yard and a half before he went out of bounds? And Coach Monken said, no, that's the way he plays. He plays the game hard, the right way. And that's why this team is playing hard on offense and defense. I mean, it's so much more than the stats to me, right? It's just so much more than just, okay, he had 171 rushing yards. He had 5 rushing touchdowns. He threw a touchdown pass, 7 of 10, 147. He was responsible for 6 touchdowns, the most since 1916 or whatever stats out there. It's just if they are doing a most valuable player in college football, forget the Heisman. I can't think of many more guys that are more valuable to his team than Bryson Daly. I could, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my opinion. So
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. This Bryson is the most valuable player in my eyes in college football this year. And is he going to win the Heisman? Probably not, because the Heisman it's a different type of trophy. But he's having a sensational year, and he's just leading this team, and they are reacting to him. I noticed it. I noticed a little bit last year. I was at the Army-Navy basketball game, and they had the team there because they were getting the trophy, the Commander-in-Chief trophy, at halftime. And I could see then he was in the crowd, he was in the stands, and how the team followed him, and he was the leader. And it's 7 games in. This kid is he's just dynamite. He's just dynamite.
I saw in a press box, I could be wrong, but I saw some people representing the Walter Camp from Walter Camp. So, I mean, now people are coming to games and they want to see Bryson Daly in person. They want to get eyeballs on him in person, right? If they have any influence on an award down the road, who knows? But it's good to see. Brendan, you were going to say something?
Well, just the fact that in terms of publicity and putting eyes on the program and eyes on Bryson, and certainly no disrespect to CBS Sports, who has done very well by Army. I mean, even before the program was turned around, they've been a great broadcast partner. But I think the fact that today's game in particular was on an ESPN network, it's just kind of like one of those little things, sort of like being in the top 25. It's just like, it makes it a little bit easier for people to find you. So the fact that Bryson had 6, was responsible for 6 touchdowns today, Yeah, I mean, and just I mean, like you said, I mean, you're running out of superlatives, but it just watching him in person, he just like continues to impress, and I mean, a couple of the touchdown runs he had, you're just like, wow, like I can't believe he found that hole, or was able to shake off that defender. It just it makes it fun to watch, when Army's got both of their first teams in.
Yeah.
And it just makes you excited to see what they can do for the rest of the season against even better competition.
I would say in the past with Army quarterbacks, they would pile up some rushing touchdowns, and some of them were some substantial runs, but a lot of them were some of them were quarterback sneaks, before Jacoby Buchanan was on. But he's breaking off these runs. That spin move that he had for the 17-yard touchdown is and what a great block by Noah Short, holding the block for ever on the end where Bryson Daly could just dive into the end zone for a touchdown. Great blocking by Noah. Want to give him a shout there. And then the 130-plus yard run where he just kind of breaks off the line and the secondary can't catch him. The secondary can't catch him. He makes it to the end zone, and just wanted to, I made an attempt to get another guest on the podcast tonight, another guy to break down this game. RG3. RG3 had a post on social media that I want to read. I just quoted his post, invited him onto the podcast, did not get a response. I couldn't send him a DM. He doesn't have an account, I guess, where you can send DMs. But here's his post. I wish I could screen grab this. One of these days I'm going to learn how to do that on StreamYard. But he said, Army should be a top 15 ranked team. Talented in capital letters, physical in capital letters, disciplined in capital letters. Sounds like the Army to me, just like our military vets. This team has earned our respect and shouldn't be overlooked or taken for granted. That's a guy who was breaking down NFL and college football games for ESPN, so that's a guy who, is a Heisman Trophy winner too. And, that's pretty good when you're impressing a guy like that. I mean, it's pretty impressive. So I don't know your guys' thoughts.
Well, I totally agree. This is a disciplined team. It's the Jeff Monken a coach team. He's getting better too, as he's been here for 10 years. He's learned the ropes, and I think he's figured this all out, what to do with these guys and how to get the most out of them. And you got to give kudos to him and to his staff, because they're really taking talented players. Army talented, at this level, at the Army level, and getting the most they can out of them. And you see,
please, before you say that, Seth, you're talking like a coach to me.
Yeah.
These guys have talent. This is not we're not sugar.
No, I'm saying that they have talent. Come on. Then to his point, he says this every week. He's not getting these guys who go to Power 5 conferences. He's getting
enough. I don't want to hear it.
Working with these kids, he's making them better. You got to give him credit. He's making them better. And you've seen it in years past too. It's not just this year. So I think he's making them better. But okay, you disagree. I do. I think he's doing a good job with them.
Well, I don't want to hear that Bryson Daly doesn't have any talent. I want to hear that Kane Udo doesn't have any talent, or Noah Short doesn't have any talent. I want to hear it. I want to hear it on this podcast.
I think he makes it better. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
That's fine. That's fine.
But of course, they have talent. They wouldn't be playing college football at this level if they didn't have talent. But he's getting more out of these guys than the way the thing is set up now. They're really maturing. Look at Noah Short. Okay, look at Bryson Daly. 2 years ago, he was huffing and puffing into the end zone when he scored his first touchdown, I believe.
When was this, Seth? When was this?
In 22.
Was he huffing and puffing into the end zone?
First time, I remember.
I don't want to argue anymore. They won 45-28. They won their 11th straight game.
Developed in the last couple of years. Come on. Was he this type of player last year even? He's not. He wasn't. And the record came on last year.
He's playing in the right offense for his skills. That's why he's doing better, Seth.
That's part of it.
I got to give the players more credit than they're getting.
I'm giving a lot of credit to the players. I
don't want to hear this coach speak anymore. And,
you got to give him credit. He's doing a great job. All of them are doing a great job. The coaches and the players too.
Yeah, I think that sometimes I just want to give the players their due. I mean, just from what we see today, Brendan, 24-0 at halftime. Man, the defense came out and they were shutting them down. And again, Brendan, to start the game, opponent decides I'm going to go for it on fourth down, on the first drive again. I guess they want to get as many possessions as they can. To me, it was weird. So East Carolina is a hurry up offense, right? They want to get plays off like really quick, but then by the second or third series, they're using I don't know. It was crazy. Their quarterback was really not good in the first half. He was pretty bad actually, and then I think that, to be honest, a missed tackle kind of sparked East Carolina on that 150-yard plus play where it should have been like a 10-yard play, basically. And Army had guys that should have brought down the East Carolina receiver, and somehow he got into the end zone. And that gave like East Carolina a little bit of like, a little fire in them. Like that play should have went like 6 yards, I think, and it went 50 plus. And that's something to work on in this bye week, and that's something to bring up. They haven't really had their starters in the game in the second half when it kind of mattered in a long time. The offense is on the field to end this game for what? The first team offense is on the field to end this game, what, for the second time this year out of 7 games?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Probably not since FAU.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like, I asked the players in the press conference, it's had to be like a good, not a good feeling, but just it's a good thing to be actually challenged a little bit. It wasn't a 1-score game in the second half. It almost was a 1-score game in the second half, but I mean,
it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, like the onside kicking and East Carolina trying to make a game out of it. And I did have a chance to sit in on Mike Houston's post game with the media from East Carolina, and he's like, yeah, didn't do the job in the first half, played better in the second half, and just could never get it to a 1-score game. And the Army's defense just did a lot in the first half. There's some things to clean up in the second, but it's another impressive win.
I think one thing we should talk about is the play calling on the runs. I mean, also the passing. The passing, they came out. They were aggressively passing early in the game, but the running attack, they were not pitching out. They were not going to to the sides of the field. And we all asked Monken that at the press conference, and he gave this. Daly said the same thing, and so did Monken, that they knew that the East Carolina coaching staff was familiar with the option, and so they decided to bring it in closer. And it worked. It worked really well in the first half, and right through the middle of the third quarter. I think they made some changes then, and it didn't work as well. They stopped them, I think, three different possessions in a row, or 3 out of 4, I think it was actually. But that's, again, kudos to the team for doing that, coming up with something different. They read the tea leaves and saw what the coaches on the other team might have been thinking. Maybe they were, appears they were, and they reacted to that before the game.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up, the play calling, if you want to bring up the play calling. The first play of the game is a pass. It's a play action pass, and it's a deep completion to Casey Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
That would have never happened a couple years back. It was always a dive to check out what the defense was giving you, right? And then it was, then dive, just a lot of runs. And that pass had to surprise ECU a little bit, and it put Army kind of immediately into scoring position. And Casey Reynolds and Bryson Daly connection was great. How about that one-handed catch by Reynolds late in the game in the fourth quarter? I mean, A, you got to deliver the ball, but B, you got to catch it. And Casey Reynolds, I think he came into the game averaging almost 30 yards a catch. I think that's going up. I think that's on the right.
I think it is too. I think it is too.
And you know what? Like, sometimes people would say, and wish him all the best at Iowa State. Isaiah Austin was the deep threat for Army in the past couple of years, right? They would throw the ball down to Isaiah Alston. You think like, okay, he's left. What are they going to do at the wide receivers? You know, how are they going to get the ball downfield? And, you know, Noah Short, certainly a factor, has been a factor in that. And Casey Reynolds is, you know, getting open and deep and making plays. Him and Bryson Daly are making plays. So really, really great to see.
Not the fastest guy in the field. He's not the fastest guy in the field. He just gets open.
Yeah, you know, senior who was, I think, one of their better receivers last year. It's not like he didn't catch a pass last year. He caught passes, you know, but this year he's now like the prime receiver. The prime wide receiver is Casey Reynolds and getting it done. And, you know, the play calling, they didn't get to the outside, but they were able to, they didn't get the huge chunk plays, but Kanye Udo almost had a touchdown, I think, on a 42-yard run officially. He tried to get to the pylon. They ruled he was out at the 1. Big play there. Kanye went over 100 yards again this game. Should have went over 100 yards last game. Was at 97. They should have gave him 1 or 2 more carries to get over 100. If that was the case, I think he would have 4 or 5 straight 100-yard games. And, you know, it's just like, you know, that's a tough 1-2 punch. James for As for Football had some kind of stat on right now. I think that both of those guys have about 1,500 yards and change as a duo right now. And I think the record for a pair of Army players in one season for rushing is in the 2,500 yard range. These guys are on pace to have like 2,800 yards as a duo, which would be crazy, you know, just crazy. And it's tough to stop. Seth, what's the stat with the 40 points or more in a game in a row?
I was just looking at that. We go back to 1945. The last time Army had 4 games in a row where they scored 40 or more points. And 1945, of course, was the championship season. And in that year, they beat up 5 teams in a row, including Notre Dame, by the way.
There we go.
And well, let me make sure it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 teams in a row. They beat Melville, Rhode Island, USN. I'm not sure who that is, but everybody else we know: Duke, Villanova, Notre Dame, and Penn. Which Penn used to be a good team back in the day. So you know, we're starting to compare the 2024 version of the Army Black Knights to the 1945 version, which featured a I think who won the Heisman Trophy? Was it David or Blanchard that year? I think it was Davis. He won it the first time.
Yeah, he won it this year.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's you know, and their next game is against Air Force, a team that you can score points on. You know, a team that you can score points on. So we might see another 40 spot put up, even though, you know, we know about how these games are pretty close. This year it's not close. Navy beat them 34-7. It's not going to be close this year. But real quick, just got a text message from an Army fan on that. I didn't notice this, and you know, watching from the press box, was doing a couple things on that pass for the long pass from Daly to Reynolds. Tyrell Robinson might have been in the game as a decoy on an end around. I don't know. I have to watch the play again real closely, but good to see we did. Yeah, let's talk about it right now. While we're on the topic, Tyrell Robinson returns he makes his season debut today. Tyrell was recovering from a second knee injury. The last couple weeks, they were like, he's close, and see him in pregame. He's got his full uniform on, ready to go. We were wondering in the press box when is he going to get his first touch? You know, when are they going to give Tyrell the ball? They probably want to at least give him the ball like a couple times just to get that game feel to him. And he did touch the ball once on a pitch play. I think 23 yards up the left sideline was really good to see. And, you know, just talking to Miles Stewart in the press conference, you know, fellow slot back, you know, they knew that he had it in him. It's tough when you're out that long. This is the second time he's come back from a knee injury, you know, and you just wonder, does he still have it? You know, does he still have it? Well, it's one play. That was a pretty positive one play, you know, so.
I agree. We were all holding our breaths at the end there when he got knocked out of bounds. The guy hit him in the knee. And I think everybody in the press box was holding their collective breaths, saying, I hope he gets up. Hope he gets up. And he did. He got up nicely. So that was a little scary.
Yeah, it's really good to see. And you know what, you talk about like what Bryson Daly means to the team. A guy like Tyrell Robinson, who has that experience, but from what I'm hearing too, he's also a really good leader on this team. And to have a guy like that who's been on the road with the team and holding up signs from the sidelines to try to like maybe catch the opposing team watching that instead of what the plays being called, who knows? But he's been a big part of this team when he's not been on the field, and he's been mentoring the younger slot backs. I'm sure like the Samari Howards and the Trey Bensons are getting some knowledge from Tyrell Robinson. I'm sure even Miles Stewart and Noah Short are getting some advice from a guy who's played a lot of football, and to have him back now, you get him a little bit of game action. There's a bye week and it's Air Force. And maybe I'm not saying, he's going to carry the ball 10 times in the Air Force game, but it progresses a little bit. And maybe, when you're facing, North Texas and Notre Dame and UTSA in November, then he can become a bigger factor in this offense. And man, if you get chunk plays from him in this offense, I don't know, man. Good luck. Good luck keeping these guys under 40 points because, you get chunk plays in this offense with him. Ooh.
I really feel like, any of these guys in the backfield, or the receivers could have 100-yard day, any Saturday, just the way the offense flows. But, to have a guy like Tyrell back in there to like really elevate things. The first play of the game, he was a major decoy on getting everybody else out in space and hitting a long pass. So if he's really back in the mix, it's going to be unbelievable to see what they come up with on offense.
Yeah, and real quick, a couple defensive notes. They didn't sack the East Carolina quarterback, but they certainly made a move and they certainly hurried some throws that, man, watching from the press box, I don't know. It was certainly a mixed bag from the East Carolina passing game. When they were on, they were okay. When they were off, I don't know. The passes were good. A lot of let's see, the turf was eating a lot of passes today from East Carolina. No sacks, but just the impact of the pass rush and, the Chance Keiths and the El Mendoza, it hurried them up. Justin Weaver had his first career interception today, so Army did have a takeaway. You know what, to me, we talked about Bryson Daly a lot at the beginning of this podcast. I just want to say one thing. And I was trying to write a mid-season report for Army this week, and I just kind of ran out of time and sleep, to be honest with you. But the most impressive stat for me of Bryson Daly, not his rushing yards, not his rushing touchdowns, not his passing touchdowns, 0 turnovers this year. 0 through 7 games. That's pretty unheard of. That's a quarterback that has the ball in his hands that much has 0 turnovers.
You're absolutely right, but the whole team has 1 turnover. In the Florida Atlantic game, that's it. That's crucial too. Having 1 turnover, an option offense, having 1 turnover, the quarterback. What did he carry the ball today? 31 times? Is that?
Yeah, 31 times.
Because he's always carrying the ball. So always double digit, and sometimes it's high, much higher than that. Like today, it's amazing to me that. They're not getting the ball stripped. They're holding on, and kudos to everybody on the offensive side of the field for holding on to the ball, and it's impressive. It's impressive.
I think when it comes to that, right, and you look at a quarterback that has the ball so much, and he probably has, who knows how many carries. He probably has 150 carries this year, maybe a little less, but he's making the impact to the defensive guy half the time. So that takes away a little bit of the, the defender making the first contact and trying to strip the ball out. It's Bryson Daly, who's, again, knocking people over on a sideline run of like 20 yards today. I mean, just being physical, being a fullback, having a fullback's body, but having still the ability to run the football. And it's just like, I just think that had to be noted. I mean, no turnovers again today. And man, if they keep this up, we know when they don't turn the ball over in the past, they're hard to beat. Now with this team and the offense that they have and the way the first team defense is played, good luck. So
it looks great.
Yeah. Real quick, we'll talk about guys. If anybody's on right now has any comments or questions, anything to ask us about the team, please send them our way. We'll answer them. Want to get now to this, the American Athletic Conference. Army's played 6 games. Navy's played 4 in the conference. If I'm correct.
Yeah.
The rest of the
yes.
The rest of the group has played. They just finished their 3rd game. They front load the schedules for Army and Navy, considering they have these service academy games and they have their non-leagues to play later in the season too. I mean, yes, if they beat North Texas, I think if they beat North Texas, they're pretty much have a good chance to be in the championship game. The way it's looking, because Tulane and Navy have to play each other.
Right.
Right. That's common. I think Navy still has to play South Florida, and South Florida did not come up. Did South Florida go down today, Seth?
They lost today. Yeah, I believe they. Let's double.
Okay.
They will lose. I don't know if they lost. Hold on. They let me find it. Go ahead.
It's looking really good for Army right now. When you have your 6 games in the league schedule undefeated, and these other teams minus Navy are still got 5 more league games to play. And if they take
won. I'm sorry. They won. South Florida beat UAB. They came back to beat UAB.
All right. So they're still a formidable. They're still, they're not undefeated in the conference, are they still?
They have South Florida has 2 losses.
Oh, so yeah, you don't have to worry about them. Yeah. So but it's just we'll see. I mean, we talk about a 13th game already with a bowl, right? Now the 14th game is getting closer. It's getting closer. I think if they beat North Texas, they're pretty much there. And if they beat UTSA, are we going to see a AAC championship game at Mikey Stadium? Yeah,
that's going to be if they're going to allow. If Army is the host team, if they have the best record, they'll be the host team. I wonder if the league will step in and ask Army to play the game someplace else. Someplace with more people, because they hope to get a big crowd. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
I don't think so. I mean, there's other teams in the league whose stadiums are about the same capacity that Mikey is now and aren't doing renovations. So I think it just is what it is.
It probably will.
I didn't. It's a good point. I didn't think about this. So it's like I shouldn't even be thinking, when down the road at North Texas and you're in, I should be thinking they should run the table in the conference so they can play at home, right? I mean, so they can play at home. That's on me right there. But that, I mean, it's looking like you're 3/4 of the way there. You're 75% of the way there, while others still have about, they have more than 50% of their schedule still to play in the league. So, I mean, looking pretty good there.
It's interesting in the fact that the Air Force game, of course, you want to win the Commander-in-Chief trophy and that game, as well as Navy. But the Navy, Notre Dame, and Air Force games, if you're trying to win the league, they don't mean anything. Whereas the North Texas game and the UTSA game means everything. So I mean,
wow.
They want to win every game, of course, and we all do. And there's always that hope of getting into the national championship tournament. I think Boise State is pretty much in the way of that. They're playing great ball, but there's always that chance. But it's interesting the way the schedule is playing out for the rest of the year. The fact that you have Air Force and you want to win that game, but that North Texas game is so important. And of course, Notre Dame, we haven't beat them since 1958. It'd be pretty incredible to beat them. But that UTSA game is so much more important in terms of the league and getting to that championship game.
Well, if you asked an Army player, if you asked Army fans, what would you rather do? Win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy or get to the AAC championship game? I think their answer would probably be the CIC. But we'll have to see. It's an interesting poll question, maybe for
It is.
if when and they do beat Air Force. It's a very interesting question to ask. But I would think that 80% of the people would probably say CIC. Yeah, I would think CIC. That's smart. What's your thoughts, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to be a CIC first guy. Although, I mean, the opportunity they have this season, the possibilities on the table are a lot, a lot to think about. But I mean, generally, it all goes hand in hand. Generally, the most kind of successful team of the three academies is the one that wins the CIC in a given season. I mean, last year was a pretty major exception. Army taking it with a 6-6 team, and Air Force had a better record. But I mean, Air Force kind of failed to take Army seriously last year, and it completely derailed their season. So it's like, not to go coach speak on you, Sal, but it's kind of it is best to just take it one game at a time and see what happens as the season goes on.
Hey, Air Force was a 19-point favorite last year. And, it'll be interesting to see. My guess, we could be around that number favorite. So, Monken has to keep the players, make them aware of what happened last year. I'm sure he does. I'm sure they're all thinking most of them played in the game, right? Or they were there. But, the same thing could happen to us that happened to them. Get overconfident, or the other team shows up playing hard. It wasn't just overconfidence on Air Force. Army also played well that game. So who knows? The Air Force was home last year. They were undefeated, 19-point favorites. They lost, and like you said, it derailed their entire season. They lost 4 games in a row, I believe.
And here's C Stokes checking in. Thanks for listening and watching us. We appreciate it. No brainer. CIC is the most important. I think most of the people would say that. But it would be nice to get to the conference game, because then that opens up the potential of playing in the playoff. Right now they're behind Boise State, and right now Bryson Daly is leading the country in rushing touchdowns too, because Ashton Genty and the Boise State Broncos did not play this week, so he's leading the nation with 19 rushing touchdowns. I don't know if an Army player has ever led the nation in rushing touchdowns. I don't know if that's ever happened. So I mean, that's a crazy thought and idea. And man, it's just like amazing. And like we said earlier in the podcast, it's well deserved. It's well deserved for Bryson and the accolades he's getting. It's well deserved for this team. They're putting in a lot. And, I have to say at the beginning, when we did the preview podcast and we had Connor from Barstool Sports on, and he said, "Why not win every game?" I think was his quote, right? Or something like that. Let's go undefeated. Let's win every game. Well, 7-0 right now. And at first I was like, whoa, pump the brakes here. But I mean, it's right now the undefeated, unbeaten season is still alive. 45-28, and the score here was a little bit deceiving. Army had a 31-point lead at one point in the second half, and then East Carolina, give them credit, they fought back a little bit, made it a little bit of a game, but Army hold on for a 17-point win. Depending on who you had, where you were putting your coin on, it was either a push or it was a 16.5 Army. And Brendan, did they cover again?
I don't think they did, because the on the ESPN Gamecast, it said the spread was 18.5.
18.5. Wow.
Yeah, I guess there was like a late push Friday night, maybe.
Wow.
But 7-0 straight up is 7-0 straight up. I will say, because I mean we talk a lot about the offense in general, and last week we talked about Cody Worley as a Broyles candidate or how he ought to be, but I do want to give the defense and Nate Woody their flowers, because they've been just as kind of high level this season as the offense has, and I mean, just like the amount of the amount of like first half shutouts they've put up, and I mean, even early in the season when they weren't getting sacks, they were pretty consistently getting interceptions every game. And it didn't really matter that they weren't putting the quarterback down consistently. So like I mean, I'm not really equipped to evaluate the talent. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily like the best collection of talent that they've ever had on that side of the ball, but just as a collective unit, I mean, they've played as well as any Army defense that I've ever seen.
They don't care. They don't care who gets the credit for anything. They play. They do their 111th. I will say that. It's another coach speak term, but they do their 111 most of the time. Yes, today there were some missed tackles that led to 2 East Carolina touchdowns. The one run by the quarterback on the goal line, he probably should have been stopped before the goal line, but I can't be perfect on every play, but they're sure pretty darn good on defense. And this year, I think I was thinking about this real quick, and since we're past the midseason, we probably should have done this last week. I was thinking of kind of the breakout players on offense and defense for Army this year so far, right? And I think on offense, I want to mention Paulo Generali. He's a sophomore right guard. He's starting for the first year, and this week he was named to the Sporting News midseason All-American team. And all those guys on the offensive line have appeared on the PFF College as one of the top-rated players weekly that they do in the group of 5. They don't just do the American Conference. They do all group of 5 teams. And one of those linemen have appeared on that list. All 5 have appeared on the list at some point this year. But wanted to give Paulo Generali credit for like being the breakout player on offense this year. Yeah, you could say, you might want to say Bryson Daly, Noah Short, kind of, we kind of knew what we had with them coming into the season. Paulo Generali is a guy out of the offensive lineman with Brady Small, just a sophomore, but playing like a veteran and playing pretty well. On defense, I would say it's the breakout player is Cody Harris-Miller. Cody Harris-Miller in that middle has given a lot of energy to that position. Kyle Harris has been allowed to move outside on defensive end because of Cody Harris-Miller's development and his rise. And I think that he would be my breakout player on defense. You could say Casey Larkin. You could say Andon Thomas too. There were some candidates there. You could say Chance Keith. There's a couple. You could say Ella Mendoza. You could say a couple guys. But to me, that really kind of solidified their front by moving Lewis outside and Harris-Miller, even though he's rotating in with Jacob Tuioti and Cody Winokur, he would be my breakout star. Real quick, Seth, you got any thoughts on those 2 topics?
Yeah, sure. Offense, Noah Short, I think, has done a great job today. He was pretty quiet, but he's done a great job. We expected stuff from Kanye Udo and of course, Bryson. And then, of course, I agree. The offensive line, the whole offensive line, we didn't know what to expect there. And they're just playing great. And one of the key things, they're not committing that many penalties. A couple of years ago, or even maybe last year was it? I don't remember. Last year or the year before, there were enough penalties. I think it was 2 years ago that you sat there and said, "Oh my God, what's going on?" They're opening holes. Daly's running this delayed option. Delayed draw. I'm sorry, all the time, and he's just waiting for whatever hole's going to open up, and one opens up.
Yeah.
5 yards or 6 yards or more. So I give it on defense. I agree with you. I mean, Chance Keith is, I think done a great job. Harris-Miller, another great job. I agree with that. Everybody, they've all stepped up. We were worried before the season started, especially in the secondary, and they've gained a lot of confidence as the season's gone on. And again, if I didn't keep track of who was coming in and coming out in the third quarter, but if Monken had pulled his first team by the time, I think after the first touchdown, the first ECU touchdown, then, you can't really measure that. So up until today, they've given up 14 or less points in every game. And today might have been because they got a little aggressive on on playing other people, which is fine. You still won the game. You still won the game by 16 points, and it's a win's a win. So I give it to everybody on the defense.
Jesse Curry checking in. First of all, 7-0. Never thought I'd see that if we don't fix the coverage. Yeah, I mean, there's over the middle, we're in trouble, he says. Yeah, I mean, well, the East Carolina quarterback had some open receivers today. He didn't connect with them. So if you have a more accurate passer, I don't know, North Texas, right? Chandler Morris, I believe, is their quarterback. He's having a pretty good year. We'll see if that presents some problems. Brendan, you got some, before we get off, you got some breakout players on offense or defense you want to highlight?
I mean, I'll definitely echo Noah Short. I mean, he was quote unquote quiet, or a little quieter in the stat book today, but I mean, he had two big drive extending receptions today. And then Andon Thomas, I mean, just absolute, from like not starter to really hammering down that position in the middle, and pretty good in the pass defense as well. Got an interception, and a pass breakup on the season so far. So,
yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's a bunch of players you could pick on defense. Great selections there. We have 250 people watching our podcast right now. We really appreciate you guys, all you guys. Check out our coverage on BlackKnightNation.com. Check out our social media on Instagram and X. And also, we're getting close to 10,000 followers on X. It's crazy. And also check out our YouTube coverage. Have a bunch of shorts out there, and also have that Cody Harris Miller quick interview too. Really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. And we have a bye week. What are we going to do next week without any football, guys? I don't know. Brendan, what are you doing?
I'm going back to my drive-in theater for the last weekend of the season.
There you go. Seth, I know you're going to be at the Navy Notre Dame game, right?
I'll be at the Navy Notre Dame game, checking out two teams that we're playing later in the season and see what's up there. It's at the MetLife Stadium. Notre Dame comes to New York area twice this year, MetLife and then Yankee Stadium. So it's pretty interesting. By the way, Davis and Blanchard both led the NCAA in rushing 1 year, rushing touchdowns 1 year, 44 and 45.
Good fact check, Seth. Thank you for that. So guys, thanks so much for watching us. We're gonna get going now, but we'll have something next week. Maybe have something where we can just talk about the team, or who knows. I'd like to get a guest on or something. We gotta get Steve Anderson back on this podcast, get his opinion of the last 2 weeks too. So we'll find some time to do that. And appreciate you guys, and have a great night.
Good night, guys.
Air Force.